Peace and blessing, everybody. This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. I just thank God for the opportunity to come on tonight. This is our Monday night. We're having a grief talk. We're just talking about our feelings, emotions, what's going on, and how can we just continue to grow. A little bit about myself. I'm Devin Knighton. I go by Nicole on different social media platforms. I am here as a grief educator, grief coach based on my own experiences. I have had grief training through the David Kessler program, but all this I'll read from the different manuals and training, but I'm giving basically my own personal experience about it. But they do have resources at grief.com, so if you want to reach out there, you can. There are other people who are highly trained to deal with your grief concerns, loss. So, reach out to them. I'm just here for a conversation to help navigate through where we are and where we're going. So last week we talked about anticipatory grief a lot. We were talking about when something happens to a person, they might be dealing with an illness, and they may be experiencing near-death symptoms. Their body may be failing them. They may have failure to thrive. We talked about that last week. This week, we're going to talk about different parts of grief in more detail. And excuse the background noise. Today has been different, so we're still cooking dinner over here. Shout out to Manisha for cooking. We also are, it's 10 o'clock hour, so you may have some other people walking around or whatever, getting situated. But I wanted to make sure I took time out to come on and just share with you about what I know. And if you have questions or you want to come on and talk or tell about your experience, you're welcome. We'll do that. If you want to reach out to me directly, inbox me, you can. Tonight's going to be a little different in the presentation. But like I said, feel free to reach out. Ask questions. Give your own feedback, your own story, because no one grieves alike, because no one loves alike. And we've learned that if you love a person very hard, you will grieve them very hard. And grief is not definite. It doesn't have a timeline on when you can say, I'm going to grieve for 3 weeks and it's going to be over. Or I'm going to grieve for 3 years and it's going to be over. No, your life is so different where things may remind you of a person that you haven't thought of in 15 years, 25 years, and it comes to you. And it's part of who that person was to you, and they have a place in your heart and your emotions, and it might just come up that day. You might cry, you might laugh, it's just different things. Grief doesn't just come over as one way. You can just say, that's grief right there, that's grief. It has so many different ways of showing itself. So thank you, Cousin Carlson, for joining. But we're going to go ahead and start with the acute grief. Let's go with, I also want to open in prayer because I do different videos and I just want to give that space. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to come together, to talk, to express ourselves, our love for our lost loved ones, or not lost, but the ones that have transitioned. Father, we just thank you for the opportunity to come together to work through the process of grief. Thank you for your healing, your deliverance, and helping us to continue. This we pray in your Son, Jesus. Yes, your name. Amen. All right. So what we're going to do, acute grief, early grief, mature grief. Those are some of the different timelines that were listed in our training about grief. But it can happen at different phases of your life. No one grieves the same. So we're just going to explore it. So I use different resources to come up with a chart tonight so we can actually talk about it in depth. So grief timeline, and you can just Google this from ChatGPT or Google it, but it talks about a time frame, and it says 0 to 2 weeks is usually when the shock and denial happens. You can have both of them. You can have either or. But some of the signs, that's what I really wanted to talk about, because when I was grieving severely, I didn't even know where I was in grief. I didn't know the different phases. So 0 to 2 weeks, shock, denial may be present. The signs: numbness, disbelief, autopilot functioning. The numbness and disbelief, most of you that have watched this, you've given different feedback, and I appreciate that. And you shared about your loved ones. The loved one that I'm in particularly talking about is when my brother passed away in 2021. That death affected me in a different way. And as I shared, everyone's death will affect you differently. So the numbness was very present immediately. Like as soon as it was going on, within the moment of him dying, I turned on this like cut dry. We're getting to the point. We don't have time for emotions. We just have to get all this stuff done. The planning. Even the people around me, when they were crying, I was like, look, we don't have time right now because we have so much going on. Pull yourself together and don't make my mom upset. That was like one of the biggest things. I remember going to the funeral home and I saw one of my cousins there and I was like, look, my mom about to come in here, so you need to get yourself together. And it wasn't so much that I didn't want my mom to grieve. It was just the fact that when my mom cries and she's really hurt about something, it is so devastating. It is so painful to hear her cry. And then it's hard to bring her back around. So I was like, let's not start it. If we can just keep it together. Everybody act like we good in here. And so I made the announcement. Everybody pulled themselves together. And I brought my mom in to come view my brother. And she saw him and she was good. And she went on back to the car. And so, I was like, now y'all can continue, whatever. But sometimes if you could just hold it together just for a little while, it'll make it a little bit more bearable. But I've learned now over time, if you have that moment where you want to just cry or holler or whatever you want to do, and you can do it where it doesn't take you out, by all means, go ahead. Get your crying out, because holding it in makes it harder, and I've lived that experience. So, the numbness, disbelief. Oh, I'm going to turn this phone on. Go ahead and put it on focus. Hold on one second, because I don't want anybody to be calling. Focus. Personal. We'll just turn it on. Okay, I'm back. I didn't want anybody to be calling while we're on. Okay, so the numbness was there. Disbelief. The disbelief was there, but I knew he was gone, but I just didn't know how to really process that. Neglecting food, sleep, or health needs. I would eat, but that was it. Like, I'll eat and get back into bed. Provide the best intervention. It says provide presence, meaning be there for the person. Provide meals, prayer, support, gentle guidance. The gentle guidance is very important, because sometimes people be saying, oh, well, you're going to be okay, or it's going to be better, and God got it and all that type of stuff. God does have it. But at that time, a lot of times people aren't able to receive that. So, just be mindful when you are talking to people and you're trying to help them. Just be mindful of what you say and how you say it. And then continue to show up. If you say something like, oh, well, they're in a better place, and that person say, I don't care that they're in a better place, I want them here with me. Be okay with letting that person say that to you during that moment, because usually it's not their true intention. It's usually what they're saying, just during the moment. Hi, Latrell. Thanks for joining. We're proud of you too. So just be mindful. Like, if you're going to come and be a part of somebody's storm, put on some tough skin and be able to weather the storm with them. Don't fall out with them because they were mean to you when they were grieving. Like, we have to support each other and love through the process. Also, the person that's grieving, that's why we're talking about it now, so that when you do go through, you don't abuse the people who are trying to help you. Okay, so that's 0 to 2 weeks, what we're talking about. And I have a worksheet here, that I'm going off of. So 2 weeks to 3 months. They call this acute grief. Pain, anger, bargaining. I've heard people go as far as with the bargaining part to say, well, if you just bring them back. This happens sometimes immediately. Well, take me. People will say that. at the funeral, or I'll take me instead, or I'll trade places with them, or don't let it happen to them, let it happen to me. Those are different ways that people bargain. But one thing I've learned, that if it's your time, it's your time. No one can do anything about it. It's some place where you have to come to grips in your own time with it. So pain and anger, those two affected me the most. I didn't do a lot of bargaining. I did the pain and anger was there because I was hurting so bad. It felt like my chest was really like something was being ripped out of my chest every day. My throat was hurting from the crying. My head was hurting from the crying. So that was the pain. The anger, I was mad at everybody because I was like, it was just unbelievable. And I'm like, you are here. And even though my brother had been sick, I still was mad. I was like, he wasn't supposed to leave this soon. So the anger was definitely present. Some people I remember being kind of short with, during that time, especially people who was closest to me, because I really just was like, I didn't want them to hurt and be in pain, even though I was hurting and in pain. So it was just a weird, awkward situation. But some of the signs, and the reason why I'm talking about the signs, so you'll know where you may be, or you might know somebody and you can recognize and maybe help them. Crying spells. Just crying. Just sometimes bust out crying. Talk to somebody, having a conversation, you laugh and then you crying. That could happen. That could be, soon in the acute phase. It could be years later. Guilt. Some people have been affected by guilt because if they feel like it was something they did or didn't do, or they didn't get to say goodbye, or they didn't get to do what they thought they should have done while that person was alive. Guilt. Also thinking something happened. They did something, that caused it. I remember my brother passed away when he was a little child. Something had happened, and I remember talking to the doctors, and I was like, hey, did I, when he was little, this happened to him, did that affect him? And then they looked at me like, ma'am, that ain't got nothing to do with it. And so just to hear her say that was relief, like, okay, because you're thinking of like what could have happened or what can happen. So that was part of it. The anger, again, spiritual questioning. Now, I love that they put this part about the spiritual questioning, because I remember talking to people when things happen and they'll say, well, if God is so real, why he allowed this to happen? Or if God is so good, how can he let them suffer? Or how can he let them get killed? Or how can, he do that? Well, God is God. God is supreme, and he already has ordered our steps. And that's where it takes having a relationship with him and actually reading what his word says. Because before the earth was formed and all this, he already knew what he wanted to do. And just as well as he allows life to happen, he allows death to happen. And so having that conversation with God, talking to him, is a great place to start. God is a loving God. You can talk to him and tell him exactly how you feel. That may not change anything, but at least you got it out to talk to him. And then pray and ask him to help you with understanding. I remember the scripture, leaning not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. You really need to have the word inside your heart to make it through things, especially like grief, death, loss, trauma. Because if you go based on what the world says, you might hurt somebody else, you might hurt yourself. But if you can go and receive what God says in his timing, it will help you. People will say at funerals, they'll say, they'll read the scripture about the weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Well, I learned from personal experience that you might cry all night, wake up and cry all morning. You might cry in the middle of the day. You might continue to cry for weeks and weeks and weeks, but one day joy will come. I've heard people say that. That wasn't my experience, that it came the next morning. I woke up and I still was messed up for months. But it was, each time I was able to cry and get it out, I did feel better. So, just having that one-on-one relationship is what's going to keep you. I can talk to you all night about my own experience, but you got to know God for yourself. You got to have that relationship where he talks to you through his word, and he, talks to you within your spirit, it's really going to take that. I tried to do it with outside of God because I grew up in church and stuff. So I was like, well, you know what? I don't want to talk to God about this. I want to see, can I handle it? And he showed me that I couldn't handle it without him. Like, you will run yourself crazy trying to do stuff without God. So try him. It's all your choice. But that's the only way I'll know how to make it. Okay. So some of the risk: isolation. Isolation just means you don't have time for other people. You're not trying to deal with people. You see people pulling up and you go lock the door and close the shades or the blinds and you turn the TV off so they'll think you're not home. You would rather just be by yourself. You need time alone, but when it becomes unhealthy, when it's the norm and it's more than not. Let's say if it's the first week, you might need time by yourself. Just getting yourself. Second week, you might need time by yourself. But if it goes on and months and months and months have passed away, you really need to take time to look at that and say, now, am I isolating myself from everybody? Or, and like I said, not everybody has to be in your face in your company, but your regular routine, your regular people. Like, let's say if you talk to your neighbor every day, and the first week you may not want to talk to them, second week you may not want to talk to them, third week you may not still want to talk to them. But as the months go by and you still haven't talked to your neighbor, just look at it. I always tell people, look at it from your own perspective. Am I isolating myself? Am I avoiding them? Or am I avoiding the people who I love, who I used to talk to? That might happen in the first 2 to 3 months. But after that, you need to start looking at it to see, what's going on. A way that you can help with this is introduce grief groups. Sometimes it may be hard to find grief groups. I always pray and ask God for guidance. And there are grief groups here. You can reach out to people. You can Google it. Some people do pastoral counseling, journaling, remembrance. They might do these different times where they go and I think balloon release are illegal now. But they may go and say, we're going to go out for dinner and just, in remembrance of this person. So, you can figure out different ways on how to deal with it. Always reach out to people if you don't know. Okay, so let's move on to 3 to 6 months. Deep sadness and reflection. So you see, as more time goes by, that doesn't mean it gets better just because the time goes by. 3 to 6 months, deep sadness and reflection. Typical signs: persistent emptiness. Feeling like nothing matters. Nothing's worth it. There's a big hole in your heart. I always point right here because it was aching so bad right here, like from my throat on down, all the hollering and crying. So empty, just feeling like there's like nothing matters. And it just continues day after day after day. You may start to withdraw yourself from other people. Fatigue, tired all the time. That was me standing in the bed all the time. Depression-like symptoms. Loss of appetite. Loss of, just want to be bothered. The normal things that you used to do. Like, let's say if you were going to work. For me, I was going to work. I already had dealt with a lot of stuff in life, period. I was going to work, showing up, trying to be normal. Couldn't do that. So, thank you, Patricia and Golden, for joining us. I couldn't do the normal stuff that I was doing. So I was like, okay, something wrong. You are at risk for clinical depression and prolonged withdrawal. That can really happen when you say, you know what, I'm better off at home. And you just start staying home all the time. You don't go outside. You turn all the shades and the blinds down all the time. Sometimes you just feel comfort in watching your favorite movie. I know I used to watch movies over and over and over. If you see any bugs or anything flying out, we live in the country and I got this bright light on, so you might see something fly by. But just feeling so sad, so heavy that you don't want to do anything else. Like people was calling, girl, you want to go out to eat? For what? What are we going out to eat for? Like those are my questions. Do you want to go out to a party? Do you want to go hang out or go shopping or something? I was like, no, I'm good. Good at home, watching the same movies over and over because it was like my brain had got stuck. And I was on repeat over and over and over, and I just couldn't get it. I couldn't snap outside of my mind. And so that really can happen. And if it's you going through that, you might want to reach out to somebody and just talk first and see, is this normal? Because the time frame I'm talking about is usually 3 to 6 months. It really hasn't gotten better. You really have fallen into a deeper place, and you might have experienced more sadness. You might think of them more and talk about them, within yourself. You may not want to talk about other people, because sometimes it's hard to just say their name. And that's something that before we leave off of here tonight, I want you to just see if you can say their name. Usually that tells you where you are, because it's hard to say their name. For me, it was hard to say their name for like the first year. And my brother, he also left children behind, and their names are similar to his, and one of them is named after him. So it was hard to even call him his real name. Years later, now I can say his name happily, because when I see him, I see my brother, and it's like a happy feeling. Before, when I used to see them and cry. I used to avoid them, matter of fact. Like, they would come over, and I'd be like, oh, I'm just going to go back in my room, or going over to where they were. That was very hard. I didn't want to deal with it. But one of the interventions that they offer here is counseling, healthy routines, faith-based hope practices. The counseling, talking to somebody to get all this stuff off your chest, really works. It worked for me. But I talked to more than one person. I just didn't stop with one. You got to find the right fit. Just like going to the doctor, you got to find the right doctor. So when I was talking to a person, to know this, just how I feel. Hey, when I was talking to one person, and it was like, they really wasn't understanding what I was saying. So I am a nurse also, so I know that every person doesn't fit for every person. So I said, let me go to another person and talk to them. I went to another person. They still was kind of talking a little bit like whatever. I talked to one person. And then the more honest I was with the person, the better I could get the breakthrough. So I just told them, I was like, hey, this is what's going on. Boom, 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 boom. And they were like, okay, that's normal. I was like, what? I'm normal? All my life people been telling me I'm crazy. Even my brother, he used to say, I'm crazy. They was like, no, you're just grieving. And I was like, no, my whole life is going down the drain. They was like, nope, you're just grieving. I was like, to hear that was normal, that was such a relief to me, because I thought I had went crazy on. And to a point, I'm saying, we all have some little loose screws, but at the same time, you have to take the initiative to take care of yourself. Like, where am I with this? And so to have that conversation with somebody to say, okay, what you're doing is normal. It's not clinical depression and all this type of stuff. You just need to figure out how you're going to deal with it. It doesn't get better overnight. It gets better as you work it. So every day, I want to shout out to the people who are in the bed every day and don't know how they're going to get out of the bed every day. If you be honest with yourself and tell yourself that is who you are and that's what's going on with you right now, but you may want to change it up, it's possible. So I just want to let you know you're not alone, because that was me. I didn't know how to get out of the bed. I stayed in the bed every day. I would get up to eat, go to the bathroom, take those 2-hour baths and cry in there. And I kept telling God, I was like, I don't think this is normal. I don't think this is going to work. I got to do something. And he helped me to get out of bed. That's why when I talk about going walking now, I get up. I don't want to go walking every day. I hear those people talking about, oh, I love working out. I don't love working out. I don't love going walking. I love this thing they're doing downtown now. Shout out to King Randall and all the people that show up, because we're all together. We're out there for different reasons. But I didn't want to get out of my bed every day to go walking, but I needed to go. I needed to have time one-on-one with myself, time with God. I needed to get my blood circulating, my health. I needed to lose weight. I needed to get my blood pressure under control. I needed to get my A1C. My blood sugar was running high. Getting out of bed. Like I said a couple weeks ago about the videos, the drinking, trying to wash the feelings in an emotional way. That didn't help me. That hurt me more than anything. So now, getting out, having healthy routines is what keeps you going. Life still is having all kind of crazy stuff going on around me, but I don't let that dictate me anymore. I used to be like, oh, woe is me. I'm the one with the problem. It happened to me. I was internalizing all that. But I've learned that other people have had That's the good thing about talking to people. Other people have had worse things to happen to them. And I'm not happy for that, but it showed me that if they can get up and live a life, a halfway decent life, I definitely can get up and join society again. When it depends on how the person that you love so much left here, it affects on how you're going to interact and deal with people. So take the time out to say, write stuff down. I used to hate writing. I used to always like, what we got to write for? Like, I used to say that to people, and they say, oh, can you journal your feelings and your emotions? I'm like, for what? It works because the words are coming out of your mind and they're going on paper and you can see them clearly. In your mind, they're all jumbled. They're just going from space to space. But when you write it down, one of the things we learned in our course is that we had to write down who all we lost and how did it make us feel. And by the time I got done with it, I had like 43 people on the paper. And, you know, we shared that in the group, and I was like, y'all, I got like 43 people. And they was like, shoot, I got about 40 some people. It made me feel like, okay, I'm not alone. Some people were like 43. I ain't lost but 2 people, you know. So everybody's story is different. So those are just things to think about. Making sure you reach out to somebody, get some good healthy routines. And I couldn't make it without God. Let's talk about it. 6 to 12 months. They call this the reconstruction phase. Gradual ability to adapt, problem solve, establish new routines. So there's no way that you can bring this person back and nothing is going to make it go, the pain that you feel go away completely. But you learn how to deal with it and you identify it in a different way at some point. Everybody's time frame is different. Everybody loss is different. For me, it took me, after doing all these courses and talking to all these people, like, you really need to join some type of group where people can talk and share. Because when I listened to these stories and these people was telling me that they lost their kids, they lost their whole family in one day by a car accident, they had to have a multi-body funeral, it just made me just stop. And I was like, oh, I'm grieving one brother, you know, and other people that I've lost. But when the lady got in there, she was like, she was still crying. And she was like, her children and her husband all were killed in a car accident. Like, and she was crying. We up here listening because everybody talking. And this group that I was a part of, these are people from all over the world. And to hear their stories, it just made me think differently. That lady, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get better. You know, because she got to go in there. She was like, I haven't moved any of their stuff out of the room and it's been a year. Like, they stuff's still in the room. Then this other person got in there and said, in their country, it's not appropriate for them to cry and grieve over people, you know, but only for like a certain period of time. If they do it any longer, then they can get outcasted from their culture. And I was like, wow, people are dealing with all kind of other things. And so I was like, God, help me to deal with what I have going on so that it can be a better transition for me, so that I can become lighter and I can live again, because I had just stopped. And so taking the time, this was 6 to 12 months you're talking about right now, ability to adapt over time, gradually getting better. Maybe you are able to say that person's name at 6 to 12 months. You know, it took me a little longer. Some of the risk, you might feel guilty about moving forward. You may feel guilty because you may, you know, like if you start back living, I experienced this. Okay, so if some people know our family, we love to party. We love to have a good time. So with my brother, we had this beautiful party before he passed away. It was my husband's birthday party. We had a great time. We laughed. It felt so peaceful, and we talk about that still to this day. It was so peaceful and beautiful. Perfect. And then when he passed away, I was like, we ain't gonna party ever again. We're never gonna have a party. For what? And then he passed away like the day before we had to have a Thanksgiving party at the house. We had got balloons, you know, shout out to Joanna. She came and did decorations. We were going to have a real party. And he died the day before. And people were still coming to our house from out of town. So it was like, we are having a whole function And people were so nice and kind and loving, and they spent the night and everything. It was a great event. And that was still during the time when I was in shock and denial. So it was just kind of like everything was just passing me by. I really wasn't in the moment. I was just passing by. That's why now I make it intentional to be present when I talk to people and stop everything and just talk to you and see what you have going on. Because being not present when people are talking to you, that was an out-of-body experience. And I don't want to go there again. So I said, we're never going to party again. I had a conversation with my family, like, well, what we partying for? We ain't having no parties. Afterwards, when things started feeling a little bit better, I learned exactly, feel guilty, like, how can I do this without him? I thought back on my brother's personality. And he always was a partier and having a good time. And he always wanted us to have a good time. So I thought about, would he want me to be sad? Would he want me to stop living because he's not here? And we already talked about death, at some point in life. We've talked about when we've lost other loved ones. Would he want me to just stop? And so thinking of that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just start, doing it. It was painful at first. Like sometimes I even still cried or teared up because it hurt, like made my throat hurt, and that little crying you be trying to hold back. It was so hurtful because I just didn't think we were supposed to be doing it without him. But then it just started getting better and better and better. And we still celebrate. We talk about him while here. We think about what he'll say, while it's going on. Like if something silly happens or whatever, we know what he's going to say. And then sometimes we might imitate him or act him out because these people are a part of our lives, even though they may not be here. They still are the same. They have the same title. They hold the same space in our life. He's still my brother. He's just deceased. His children are still my niece and nephew. You know what I'm saying? Like, those things didn't change. So what I do now, I celebrate him more. I celebrate his life. And yeah, we didn't want to go on vacation without him. We thought it was going to be so hard to go because we always went on vacations. And it was like, exactly, your mom being the life of the party, the love of the party. It just wasn't right without her. Exactly. But over time, now we go out of town and we still, like this last time we always go to the beach and stuff. For a moment, it came over me and it was like a little sad. And I had like a little tears, in my eyes. But his kids was having a ball. And I remember when his kids was afraid to get in the water. Like they were scared. Like they thought they could swim, but then they were scared to get in the water. And to see them swimming, I was like, we're killing this thing. So that was exciting for me because we killed the fear. We killed the doubt. We killed the hurt. We killed the pain by living. And so those are the things, when we push past all that hurt and pain and stuff, when we actually still live and exist, because that's what God called us to do. You really still, just because we go through stuff, that don't give us a way out. We say we ain't have to do anything. We don't have to deal with this anymore. We now continue to do it. Even if it hurts sometimes, even if it's painful, we still push through to show and support each other because it's still a lot of people around us who have to pass away. And are we going to neglect the time we have to love them, to hug them? Like I just left out of my daughter's room and I hugged her. You know what I'm saying? I really took time to hug her because she's here. But if I was still caught up in my loss and my hurt and my pain, I would miss those opportunities now. I would just say, you know what? I'm going to just be sad for the rest of my life. And some people do. It was some people who were part of our coaching class who were still grieving people as if it was fresh from 27 years ago. And I remember the instructor telling them that they needed to get some help outside of here because there's something else going on. We are supposed to have that special place in our heart for people, but we're also supposed to live and take all the things that they've given us with us. We can take that joking. My brother joked all the time. We can take that joking with us. We can take that laughter with us. We can take, I always want to go on a trip. We used to go on trips all the time. I ain't have no money, but we always were trying to go somewhere. We still can go and have a good time. Whatever the word tells us to think on those things that are good, those things that are pure, those things that are of good report. Those are things we're supposed to think about. If we take that time to think about that, it helps. But it does take time to get there. Just because I'm here today I wasn't always here. It took years to get here. That was from 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25. I took this course the year before last. I'm just able to talk about it now. So being able to share and deal with people and hear them and listen to them, that helps. Patricia said it was hard, but we lose so many people and we have so many people still here to love on. Exactly. Like we went to 1 year, we were going to funerals every weekend, and we still got a lot of people here. And when we go to parties and stuff like that, we have a good time and we love on each other. We hug on each other. We kiss each other. I don't kiss my people over the weekend because we want you to know we love you now. And our family is very close. Like, even though we may have different mothers or fathers or something like that, we still have like this sister brother type of love. And when we're hugging these people and stuff, in my mind, I'm saying, I love you. Even if I tell them I love you, I'm saying I love you now while I can love you and hug on you. Because when they're in the casket, you can't hug nobody. You can get over there and holler over them and stuff like that, but they can't hug you back. So now I forgive quickly. Like if we have a problem or something like that, I'm like, man, I ain't trying to, I say this all the time, I ain't trying to harm you because I don't want to waste time. We don't have time to be, we arguing and fussing and fighting and still mad at each other because you might be gone tomorrow. I may be gone tomorrow. We don't know. That's the part about being a human. You know, eternity is set in our hearts, but we got to go. You better love, and have a good time while you're here. Have a good time. We're going to have some problems, but have a good time. My mom got caught up in the loss of her mom, and grief took my mom from us. I can believe that. I've seen that. Somebody posted that earlier about a broken spirit. A broken spirit dries the bones out. And I've talked to people about that before. You can get so heavy where you just cry all the time, or you turn to substance abuse. This paper had substance abuse on there, or reckless behavior. Reckless behavior is so true because you'll be doing stuff that you wouldn't even normally do. You know what I'm saying? Like being like, for me, when my brother was going on, I just was like, I ain't care no more. I ain't caring about nothing, nobody. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, we finna just ride out. We finna turn up. We're gonna do whatever we want to do. I just thank God for his grace and mercy keeping me, because your mindset can just turn a complete opposite. You just do stuff you never wanted to do. But grieving, the drinking, the alcohol, what I was doing, it was just like, and like I said, I ain't never been no heavy drinker, but who cares? I was drinking then. I was drinking shots or just straight. And it was giving me a stomach ulcer. I had no idea, but I knew my stomach was burning. And people now, they be like, girl, you want to drink? No. And I don't have a problem with telling them no. Like, no, I don't want to drink. You know what I'm saying? My body, thank God, is healed now. But it was horrible. It was a pain. And I could put my finger on the pain. And so when I went to the doctor and had test stuff done, he was like, yeah, you got a little ulcer right here. I was like, I felt it. But eating food, like we were going out to eat every day, you know, all this type of stuff, just trying to be close to each other. Even though we was going out to eat, we weren't eating the right thing. So our cholesterol was going up, our blood sugar was going up. You know, we weren't going walking now. We weren't doing none of that together. But we were doing all the, you know, the other stuff, the comfort stuff. People say coping. The food make you feel better. The sugar make you feel better. The alcohol make you feel better. You know, some people smoke and do all kind of other stuff to make them feel better. Whatever they do, you know, that's what they do to that. They're thinking they're coping with it. But the real coping is God and talking. And you talk and you talk. I talked about witnessing the week before. You find the right person that can just listen to you to talk. And if you come talk to me, I'm going to listen to you and talk to you, but I'm always going to put God in it. So I may not be the person for you to talk to. But find somebody who might could just talk to you regular. I don't know regular. I'm beyond. I don't know how to be regular. I can't put God in it because he had to get me out of bed. He sat at the foot of the bed. I felt his presence. And I told him, I said, I can't do nothing. I don't know what to do. And he's like, I got you. So But if you don't, find some other people. There's plenty of people out here who you can talk to who don't just talk about God all the time about it. Because even my brother, when he was dying and stuff, I still was talking about God. He was like, dude, can we have a conversation without just talking about God? No, I don't know no other help. That's it. That's all I know. So, but there are people out here who actually will talk to you. They're on a professional level. They know how to talk to you without bringing up God and all that type of stuff. They're great. Find them. Even if they have faith-based, they know how to just turn it off. I will listen to you for about 2 minutes. And if you give me the opportunity to talk, I'm going to tell you that's how I got here. Okay? So look for those people. One person I do recommend to people to talk to, I haven't talked to her in a long time, but like I said, Marika Floyd, she was great to talk to. She listens. She's great. She doesn't judge what you're saying. She gives great questions. There's another lady who I talk to, Miss Valerie. We call her Coach Valerie. She's a great person to talk to. I have a whole team of people who I talk to. And people who know me know I don't have a problem with talking and saying stuff because I need to get this stuff out my chest and out my mind. So I will talk to you. If you are a person who I talk to and you can't really, contain what I'm saying or whatever, usually we don't do a lot of talking on that level. But find whoever you need to talk to get to the next step. Because in 2021, I wouldn't even think I would be able to live without my brother. I would be able to talk to other people about death and dying and all that type of stuff, or go to another funeral. Man, we were like, we ain't going to no more funerals. Matter of fact, we said we weren't going back to the hospital. I just went to visit somebody in the hospital the other day. So the things you say you won't do, life will have a way of getting you back around to doing them if you allow it. And it don't always have to be in a bad way. So that was 6 to 12 months. The best intervention, let's go back, because I stopped gradual ability to adapt, problem solve, establish new routines, guilt about moving forward. The way I got rid of the guilt is that I had to write that out and write a release letter that I released myself of. One of the things I felt guilty about is not allowing my brother to allow his dying process to be witnessed by me. Like, I didn't give him time to just really talk and say, hey, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to be able to do this and do this. I was like, yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're going to live today. Matter of fact, my brother was here. My mom, we talk about it now. He had actually passed away while he was here. And, I shook him and I was like, hey, come back. You ain't going to die here. That was like the day before he died. And I was like, no, you ain't. You ain't going to die on my watch. And he came back. And I could talk about that now. I used to couldn't talk about that. That was like so hurtful and so painful. But, we talk about it. And my family, we talk about it. And I appreciate my mom even coming on to support, because she has her own walk with this. That she lost a child. I lost a sibling. So everybody have their own walk with it. But I learned from the class to give space and give respect to anybody who has a loss, so that they can feel and share what they, whatever they want to feel. Okay, it can be comfortable. So the guilt about moving forward, setbacks around anniversaries. So during the summer, we would do the trips. That was a setback. We used to kind of be like very sad. Hi, Sebastian. Thank you for joining. That used to be a very hard time. The birthdays, we used to feel like, what are we supposed to do for the birthdays? And then his friends still wanted to like have parties or do stuff. And I was just like, well, we ain't doing nothing, but eventually I got to where we can, talk about his birthday or celebrate or something, say happy birthday or whatever. His kids were able to release balloons at that time about that and talk, allowing them to talk, giving them the space to talk, because people don't realize that kids are there too, going through their own grief, and they don't understand a lot of stuff that's going on. All they see is people hollering and crying and flipping out and all this type of stuff, and nobody really sits down and talks to them usually about what's taking place. So having those conversations after the fact is a great place to start. Just saying, hey, how you feel about that? Or, what are you thinking? Intervention around that 6 to 12 month period. Life coaching, holiday grief sessions, legacy/memory projects. We used to go to a camp, like a session where you could talk about your loved one and what it felt to you, and we would do craps. We did that with Marika. So like that's why I said if you want to reach out to somebody else, that's a great person. You could get there and talk to people about, you know, what you're feeling, what your emotions are. And when you hear other people's stories too, it will make you grateful for your story. Because I didn't think it could be worse, but it's a lot of more things that has happened that's worse. Yeah, the kids will make you laugh. They will say little silly stuff, and you know, the kids also make you cry too, though, in the beginning. Like, because I know I used to see them and just holler because they got them big eyes on my brother, and that just was too much. I was like, they walk around here looking like him. it was bad, y'all. But we here now. 12 to 24 months, acceptance and hope. So a year to 2 years later, integrating memories with less pain, renewed planning, and hope. People say, it'll get better. It'll get better. Well, it may get better sooner than later, or it may get better later, hopefully. It might take years to get to a space where you can just talk and laugh and joke again. Or with the right space and the right support, it may not take as long. Supporting people is very, very necessary. Some people, some people will easily be just that right fit of what you need at that time. And then some people may not understand you at all. Keep going till you find the right person. Okay, keep going. You're not alone in this. Grief happens to all of us. Something that we will discuss later on is how a lot of people are not talking about it. But COVID-19, a lot of people lost people during COVID, and they didn't have a space to talk because so much was going on, right? Continuous prayers definitely helps. They didn't have the space to talk about their loved one. I think we get better, but your heart is still broken. Absolutely. Your heart, it's like you'll always have a piece of you that person's gone. And then I remember talking to God, asking him to fill this void, feel this hurt and this pain. And then it's like, he is the only one that can fill a void. But it's good that you can feel and have emotions as a human. Because when you don't feel anything, you're just going through, you've lost all of that. And sometimes we numb ourselves not to feel that, but keep going, keep talking to people so that you can get that feeling of you're okay. Other people don't have to say you're okay to their level and their standard. But if you have peace and not abusing substances and all that with peace, I'm saying when you have come to terms with, okay, this person isn't here anymore and I'm able to function again, that's a good place to be. It takes time to get there, but you can get there. Because if I got there, I tell everybody, hey, there's hope. I used to be in the bed and people used to just come by and they knew I was betting in the bed. And they're like, she bet there, she'll be all right at some point. Shout out to my husband too for supporting me during that time because he was grieving and he still supported me. We had people, while we were grieving, people still was dying. And it was like, now what we supposed to do? We didn't even have a chance to get over this person. You know what I'm saying? So just know that keep God at the center because you can definitely, it's not over, even though it feels like it's over. Even though you can't see your way out, God is still there. He said he'll never leave us nor forsake us. So remember that. So we do get better. Your heart may still be broken. You'll never get that person back, but you still can function and live. And giving grace to other people who are going through. We don't know what those people are facing, where that person was in their heart. But what we can do is support each other and love on each other while we can. Even if you're the one that's hurting, open your heart to say, I'm still going to give love a shot. I'm still going to love again. Because that's what it's all about, is loving each other. So open your heart, soften your heart to love again. Yes, somebody else is going to die. I'm here to tell you. Something else is going to happen. That is while we're alive, something else is going to happen. Keep loving, keep loving, keep loving. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He loved us so much he gave him and he knew he was going to die. So Keep going. Keep encouraging people, even when it hurts. Like I told a lady today on a post, I love to encourage people. That's a gift from God. And the reason why is because I be needing the most encouragement. I be like, Lord, let somebody call and say, hey, how you doing? Or let somebody, because I always be the one be like, calling. Shout out to you, cousin Shannon. I appreciate when you call and just like, hey, girl, I was just checking on you. Or cousin Nick, just people who say, I was just calling and check on you. Because all we have, and we need to check on each other. We need to show each other we love each other. So, anniversaries and birthdays may cause setbacks. I've witnessed that, and I talked to a lot of people now. They was like, oh, her birthday coming up or his birthday coming up. I really don't want to celebrate it. Well, that's a choice. Either you do or you don't, and that's fine. Nobody can make you do anything. When you're grown, nobody can make you do anything. It has to come to a time when you want to do something to celebrate it. I know some people were going to the grave sites, and they would go and take balloons or flowers or go out there and talk to the person during those anniversaries and all that. Sometimes they do death anniversaries, or they do their birthdays, or, wedding anniversaries, whatever that time that makes you really think about that person. Sometimes you cannot even be thinking that the birthday is coming up, and your body, because your body, you have muscle memory in your body. Your body remembers trauma. Your body remembers things that happens. It could be just coming up to that time of the year. Your body just go to acting up. Your mind go to acting up. You don't even know why, because you ain't even thinking about it. Your body remember. So what you have to do is snap back and bring your body, all your thoughts, and give it to God. You're like, hey, and talk about it. Talk about it to other people. Everybody ain't out here bad. Everybody out here ain't no gossiper and be telling all your business. It's some people out here who you really can talk to and have good conversation. And God will order your steps and get those people to you. So to say everybody out here out to get me and stuff like that, that's an inaccurate statement. Pray and ask God to lead those people to you, and you be that person for somebody else. When people come and talk to you about their problems and their situations, be the person that they can talk to, that they can trust with that conversation, that you ain't going to get out here telling everybody what they said or, doing something harmful to them. So the way you can help with this, the best interventions, it says for the 12 to 24 months during acceptance and hopefully that's going on at that time. Periodic check-ins. That means calling somebody. Hey, I just called to see how you were doing. I'm doing all right over here. It goes both ways. Don't make people just call you all the time. You call them too. Like, hey, I'm just checking on you. Somebody said something about that years ago. Like, oh, I'm just checking on you. Check on them for real. Like, hey, what you doing today? What's going on? How your mind? What you thinking about over there? Just take time out your day to call and let them talk. Because we have to show up for each other, just like we have to show up for ourselves. So, mentoring service. Some people like to go and help other people get through it. Some people go to pastoral encouragement. Whatever it takes for you to get to a good space in life where you're not surrounded with so much heaviness, and your heart might be broken, but the different part about feeling better is that you might be going through, but it's not the woe is me, or nothing can ever get better. Nothing can ever get good. Matter of fact, the words say greater is the ending of the thing than its beginning. So it might have started off really, really rough, but if you continue to listen and trust God, read his word, talk to God-fearing people, and write this stuff down, journaling. When I tell you I have written out so much stuff, and I'm telling you I'm not the one that wanted to write. I ain't never want to write. But I've written out so many thoughts and so many different ideas of what I had and things I might have wanted to say, or things I did feel guilty about, things that was hurtful, unresolved conflict. The person died before we can, talk about it. Whatever it is, writing it down just makes it so much better. So I just challenge you tonight. If you're going to be up, because sometimes when you're grieving and stuff, you stay up all throughout the night. When those thoughts and stuff come, you write them down. Put them in a notebook. Put them in your phone. Whatever you got to do to get that stuff out your head. And you can look at it. And you can share it with somebody if you want to. Take time to do that. Because you are important. Your mental health is important. You having some sense of hope, some sense of joy, in life is important and it's possible. And most of these people that I see on this line have lost some of the same people that I have lost, and they are witnesses that you can talk again, you can smile again, you can laugh again, you can celebrate again. But when we were going through, we thought we would never be able to celebrate or have any good thing happen to us. But it did. So there's a urgent intervention. If at any of these stages or time frames that I talked about, somebody has suicidal thoughts, or they abuse substances heavily, or cannot function normally after 12 months, this may indicate complicated grief. And it suggests that you refer to professional therapy immediately. Go to your doctor too, because sometimes I know, I talk about God and natural remedies and going outside, getting you some vitamin D, and doing these health challenges or doing different challenges where you outside, that gives you that dopamine rush that helps. But I also understand that some people may have to use, help with medicine or, getting other professional help. Go get it. Go talk to somebody. Go deal with whoever you need to deal with, because complicated grief is when painful emotions or loss don't improve with time and are so severe that you have trouble resuming or creating your life. And I talked about that just a little bit, is that when you stop working altogether and you're not doing anything. I stopped my job, but I didn't stop, trying to figure it out. I still was saying, okay, let me figure out how I can make money now or whatever. But if you just stop everything and be like, oh, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I know a person who had stopped with everything, and they didn't even take care of the person had insurance and everything. They didn't even take care of that. They was like, I don't care what happened to it. It just stopped. They stopped functioning. They stopped paying the bills. They stopped everything. And it can happen. It happens to the best of people. It depends on how the loss affects you. So whatever it is you're going through, reach out to somebody, talk to somebody. Keep going till you find the right person. And I always say pray and ask God to lead you and guide you to whoever you need to talk to get better. But you're not alone. We all are going through something in life, but it doesn't have to take us out. It doesn't have to be the reason for us not being successful, not loving somebody else, learning to love again. Someone mentioned, he said, that's hard. God knows what you need to heal. He does. He knows what you need. I had a friend that I used to talk to on the phone when everything was happening. And it was like that person, you could talk to them and they'll just know, but that was just for a season. Like, it wasn't a permanent thing. It was just, I needed to talk to somebody at that time. They were a great person to talk to. That was the end of it. Like, you can't get stuck on anything in life, because God may be moving you to something else. He might be moving you to this. He might be moving you to that. So reach out. Love. Don't give up on love. Don't give up on being kind. This world, all this stuff going on, you still can be kind. You still can be watchful. You can still protect. You can still do everything that you're called to do. But if you don't have love, it's just like you're just sounding brass. You're not helping anybody. So love yourself. Take care of yourself. Get out. Get you some vitamin D. Get moving. Surround yourself with good people. Take time to have conversations, to laugh, to be yourself. People who appreciate you for you. Hug a little tighter. If you want to do that, kiss on the jaw, kiss, whatever. But I appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you. I have enjoyed this talk tonight. But I really just wanted to give you some time frames. None of this is concrete. None of it. But I do want to give you just a little time frame to know where you are and maybe some interventions that will help. All right. Well, you be blessed. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the group. I'll answer a question if somebody has it. And otherwise, you can inbox me and we'll talk, discuss it.
You can answer the question in the next one.
Okay. Thank you. That's one of my handy dandy workers. They said I can answer the question in the next one. So yeah, inbox me if you need to. And I appreciate you doing this Monday. We'll see you next Monday, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can go back and watch the replay. And I'll see you then. Love you. Bye. And thank you.